when at least everyone is in those in the waiting room so that I can just get started and do the introductions?
Yes, please, they are, so you can go ahead and start. Thank you.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Hi, and welcome to this virtual fair. My name is Anita, and I'll be your moderator for today. But before I get started, please confirm if you can hear me clearly. If you can, just put a thumbs up so I see that, you can hear me clearly before I dive into what we have in store for you today. All right. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Joshua. Thank you, Becky. Okay, thank you, Bennett. Thank you so much. All right. So like I said, my name is Anita. I am the Business Development Manager and Liaison Manager at Nexi Concept Limited, and I will be your humble moderator today. So please stay till the end of this session. It promises to be very, very informative. All right, Princess, let's get started. So today's agenda is packed full. We're going to be talking about the UK newly introduced RAG system. We're also going to be talking about everything that is required at your pre-application stage, which is the stage before you even get an offer from any UK university. We're also going to be talking about the pre-CAS stage, which is the stage after you've gotten an offer and before you request for your CAS. If you don't know what a CAS is, then wait till the end to know what that is. We also have the visa and post-visa stage, which is the stage after you've gotten your CAS and everything that you need to know about this stage. Admin. So, but before we get into that, who is Nexi Concept Limited? What do we do? Where did we come from? And all of that. Nexi Concept Limited is an international leading education consultancy in Nigeria and Ghana. We were founded in 2013, which makes you know or lets you know that we have years of experience doing this. We are dedicated to helping African students achieve their dreams of studying abroad. And we have helped over 6,500 students like you, achieve their dreams. And we've done this with a 99% success rate. Yes, we are that good. We are trusted by thousands of students across West Africa. Oh, hi, Ire. You said you can hear me. Please, everyone, confirm if that is the same for you. Okay, Ire, let me see is this better? I've increased my volume a little. Please confirm if it is the same for everyone or if I need to. Oh, okay. Oh, Ire, so I think maybe it's your network. So maybe just try log out and log in again so you can hear me clearly. All right. Thank you, Toby. So we have qualified and experienced professionals who provide expert guidance to our students to top universities in UK, Canada, US, Ireland, and other parts of Europe. But for the purpose of this webinar, I'll be focusing on the UK as a study destination. We offer everything from free counseling to fast-track admissions to visa support to relocation support, post-arrival assistance, and everything in between. And all of this is done absolutely free by Nexi Concept Limited. So we are your complete partner in the international education success and also in your students' success. So this shows you that we know what we're doing and, you should listen to what we have to say. Moving on. We have various locations across Nigeria and Ghana. Our head office is in Lagos, located in Ikeja. We have an office in Abuja, located in Wuye, an office in Port Harcourt, located in GRA Phase 3, and one in Ghana, located in Osu, Accra. So if you wish to stop by any of these locations, please feel free. We're always available. Now to meet the team, you already know me. My name is Anita, and I'm the Business Development Manager and Liaison Officer for Nexi Concept Limited. I also have my Managing Director and CEO, Nelson Iban. We have our General Manager, Rosalind Goduba. We have your presenters for today, Mrs. Happiness Onyegbule, Mrs. Mary Michael, and Mrs. Georgina Amadine. So they will be taking you through today's session as well. So moving on. Right. So I know that some of you must have seen online UK RAG system, UK RAG this. What exactly is the UK RAG system? That is what I'm here to unpack to you. And why should you, as a student, be concerned about this system? All right, so for the UK RAG system, it was introduced earlier this year, but it just took effect June 2026. All it means is the red, amber, green system, rating system to monitor UK universities and how they comply with visa sponsorship rules. All this means is that universities are going to be assessed on three key performance areas. The first one is visa refusal rate, which is the percentage of students whose visas are refused after receiving their CAS. The second is enrollment rate, which is the percentage of students who actually enroll after receiving their CAS and their visa. Course completion rates, which is the percentage of students who successfully complete their course after enrollment or after arrival in the UK. Let's move on. Now, that being said, the minimum requirement for each university is based on the red, amber, green system is that for all UK universities, visa refusal rates must be less than 5%. Enrollment rate must be at least 95%, and course completion rate used to be 85%, but now it is 90% or is going to be 90% come January 2027. Let's break that down into figures. Moving on, Princess. Thank you. So, like I said, let's break that down. What this means is that according to the red, amber, green system, a university's visa refusal rate must be less than 5%, meaning that if it is greater than 5%, then it is considered red. If it is between 4%, greater than 4%, but less than 5%, it is amber. And if it is greater than 4%, then it is green. Enrollment rates should be enrollment rate should be higher than 96%. If it is less than 5%, it's considered red. If it is greater than 95%, but less than 96%, it is amber. And if it is greater than 96%, then it is green. Course completion rates must be greater than 92%. If it is less than 90%, it is red. If it is greater than 90%, but less than 92%, it is amber. And if it is greater than 92%, it is considered green. I know this is all gibberish, but let me explain what this means to you. What this means is that if a university maintains a refusal rate that is greater than 5%, they are already considered under the red system. And what this means is that they are at risk of losing their license as a university. If they lose their license as a university, it means that they cannot sponsor you as an international student to come into the UK. It means that they cannot offer you or issue you CAS, which is your confirmation of acceptance of studies. It is these documents that you would need to apply for a visa to come into the United Kingdom. So if a school loses their license due to these metrics, then it means that they cannot sponsor international students. Now, let's just explain what this means for us as international students, or for you as an international student. It means that if a school keeps getting refusal rates that is higher than 5%, or enrollment rates that is less than 95%, or course completion rates that is less than 90%, then they are at risk of losing their license. And if they lose their license, they can't issue you CAS. And if they can't issue you CAS, you cannot come into the UK via that school. So what this means is that universities are going to be stricter as ever, as we've already seen happening, in the last couple of months. Moving on. Now, why should you be concerned? Just like I said, a university is at risk of losing their license if they even are on any of the metrics in the red column. So even if their enrollment rate is on green, their course completion rate is on green, but their visa refusal rate remains on red or is greater than 5%, they still stand a risk of losing their license. So it's not something that if they meet all of the criterias, then they don't lose their license. If they even lose one of these criterias, they stand the risk of losing their license. So universities are trying to be careful. That is why you see that entry requirements have skyrocketed. You see their tuition fees have increased and what have you. All of this is the universities trying to put checks and balances in place to ensure that they don't lose their license because of you and international students. So let's start with CAS availability. It means that if they are on the red metrics or the red mark, it means that they might get fewer CAS allocations. I know that as international students, we don't necessarily know this, but each university is allocated a number of CAS for every year or every intake. Take, for example, University of Dundee. Let us say University of Dundee gets 100 CAS per intake. It means that if they are on the red metric, then they are going to get fewer CAS allocations. It can be dropped down to 20. So that means that if 1,000 people are applying to University of Dundee, only 20 people will get CAS. The competition is higher. So universities risk losing CAS allocations, which means fewer admissions slots, stricter CAS issuance, longer document review timelines. Because of course, if they risk losing their license, they are going to make sure that they protect themselves first before protecting you, the students. Do you understand? Now, moving on, increased scrutiny. You see that universities may now become stricter with financial documents checks because they want to ensure that if they give you that CAS, you would actually get a visa. And you're not just going to get CAS and then you don't get a visa and then they lose their license. So they will ensure that your financial documents and all your documents in general are checked and checked thoroughly. It means that credibility interviews will be on the increase. So schools that don't usually do credibility interviews for CAS will start doing pre-CAS interviews. It means that they will increase deposit payments to scare away people that are not serious. We saw that happen with a university who was offering deposit of £4,000 and that increased to £10,000. That is £6,000 extra. That is just to tell you that they don't really care if you have the money or not. They just want those that are serious, that are going to put in the work. Because of course, you can't pay £10,000 and you don't want to prepare for your pre-CAS or you don't want to take your admission seriously. Of course, you take it seriously because £10,000 is a lot of money. Now you see tuition fee deadlines. If you don't pay your tuition fee before so time, you're not going to get your CAS, you're not going to get your offer. So schools are getting stricter. They would also be monitoring your attendance. When you arrive in the UK, all those ones that Nigerians used to do, that when you go to class, when you get to the UK or you travel, you will think it's a Nigerian university, then you will go and be looking for work, you will not attend your class. When it's exam, you will do la cram la po. That is no longer going to be tenable. Visa document verifications will become tighter as we've seen from the January and the mid-year intake 2026. Now, the third thing that you should be concerned about is high-risk region. Some institutions will stop recruiting from Nigeria. If the refusal rate keeps going up, they will stop accepting students from Nigeria, and we don't want it to come to that. That is why we are holding this webinar today. You will see that there will be tougher screening, visa screening for some applicants for some locations. There will be slower turnaround times for visa applications, as we've already started seeing. Applications are supposed to be 15 working days, and you see it taking 1 month, 2 months, simply because some regions are considered high risk. You will see that they will be requesting more documents as they were, as opposed to when last year and 2 years ago. You will also see that the responsibility shifts from the agents or from the universities to the students. Now, the onus is on you as an international student to ensure and prove that you are a genuine student. Gone are the days when your agent is writing SOP for you, or your agent is helping you to do your research proposal, or your agent is the one doing things for you. No, that is no longer tenable. You now have to be actively involved in your application as an international student. So if you're a student who does not enroll, you want to run away, you want to jackpot, you don't want to do this, you most likely would either not get your visa, or you put the university at risk and put the entire Nigeria at risk, if I might even add. So moving on, Princess, this is why you have to be careful. You have to ensure that you are a genuine student and you're proving that you're a genuine student. Now, what is the next stage for you as an international student? The new RAG system just means that universities will be under more pressure to recruit genuine, prepared, and committed students. Now, the university has something to lose if your visa is refused. It's not before that if your visa is refused or you don't come to class, the university is not really losing. Now, they have something to lose. They risk their entire license, you understand, if you don't get your visa. So it is very important that every student who is applying to the UK is prepared to get their CAS, prepared to get their visa, and in turn prepared to graduate, enroll and graduate from their course. So for you as an international student, it means that you have to be prepared. You have to do stronger preparation. It's no longer any coursework or just give me anything or let's just push it and go. I don't really care. No, you have to care now. If you actually want that visa, you have to be actively involved. As your agent or as your guardians, we are only here to support you, not do the entire process for you. It means that you have to start early enough. All those ones of you have offer from 100 schools in UK, then you are waiting for 3 months, 2 months to when school will resume before you pay the money. It's no longer tenable. You have to start your process early. You have to put in your application on time. You have to get your offer on time. You have to pay your deposit on time. If you know that you're not ready to pay your deposit, please don't go and get offer and be keeping the offer, because if you defer 1-2 times, the university might not take you seriously anymore. You also have to ensure that your document is accurate at every stage, at every step of the journey. Ensure that you have accurate documents. No more fraudulent documents. No more Mogbomuya documents. Sorry, guys, for that. No more funny looking documents. No more fraudulent, nothing of the sort. Make sure that every document you're submitting to your agent, you're submitting to the university is accurate and can be proven. Now, make sure that you have serious study intentions. As Africans, we understand that majority of our reasons for going out or going to study is because we want to immigrate or relocate. But you have to ensure that you're able to convince the UKVI, which is the UK Visas and Immigration, or the Home Office, that you are a genuine student. The better prepared you are, the stronger your chances of securing your CAS on time, getting your visa approved, and successfully starting and completing your studies in the UK. Now you know what is in stock for the universities, and you know how this RAG system affects you as an international student. It is time for us to go back to the drawing board and ensure that we're actually doing the right thing. We're actually, being involved, and we're actually proving that we're genuine students to these guys. So that would be all from me for now. I would give the floor to my colleagues to take their own parts of the presentations, where they'll be diving deep into what is expected at every stage of your journey as an international student. So we'll move on, where I would hand over the floor to Mary. Mary is a seasoned and experienced counselor who has been counseling students for a couple of years, and she has dealt with every kind of student. So when she's speaking to you about the pre-application stage, she knows what she's talking about. All right then, thank you, Mary, and thank you guys for joining and listening. Mary, you have the floor.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Please, I don't know if 1 or 2 persons can just confirm if they can hear me. Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Anita. So my name is Mary. I'm a student recruitment advisor in Nexi Concept Limited, precisely in the Abuja branch. So if you are out there and you would love to visit us at the office, perhaps for a physical conversation, please do well to do so. We are located at Suite B04, Media Center, Abuja. So just like my colleague said, I'll be taking you on the next stage of the application, which is basically us talking on the document required for you to put in an application and some of the affordable schools that you can apply to as an international student. So for a student who has looked at themselves and you are convinced, I mean financially, that you are ready to begin your study abroad journey, one thing I will advise you is to reach out to an educational consultant. Oftentimes I hear students say that, this is something I can do, I don't need nobody and all that. But I'll tell you for free that at some point you really need the support of somebody who is already in the industry, because things are no longer the way they used to be, just like Anita stated. So please don't, jeopardize your application just because you're trying to prove a point to only God knows who. Please don't do that, because you're putting in your time, your finances, and you wouldn't want all of this to go into waste. And when you're choosing an educational consultant, it is not just any agency out there. Please reach out to somebody who knows what they are doing. And first thing that should come to your mind is Nexi Concept Limited. So that being said, I will just move right into some of the documents that are required for you to begin your application. I wouldn't want to dwell so much on, on Nexi. My colleague already said that, so you won't be like, that's where she's working at. So, so let's just go to the next part of it, which are the documents required for you to put in an application. So the first document on my list is the international passport. Now, this is very important that you set aside, try to get your international passport once you want to begin your, study abroad journey. And I will advise that you get, your passport should at least have a validity of 5 years and above. So you don't start, going back and forth in trying to renew and all that. However, there are still some schools that can actually give you a conditional offer, but I would add without the passport. But I would advise you do this if you have the passport in progress, right? You have the renewal, you are trying to renew, and then maybe you don't just want to wait, you're trying to beat school deadline and all of that. You can reach out to us. There are some of our schools that can give you a conditional offer pending when the international passport is ready, but then you won't be able to proceed to the CAR stage. So it's very important that you get the international passport. Then the next document is the WAEC or NECO. Now, majority of the schools in UK accept WAEC or NECO, so you don't have to start beating yourself about IELTS and all that, although there are some courses that requires you to provide IELTS, and those courses are nursing and social work. Yes, you need IELTS is compulsory for those courses. Well, aside that, majority of the school accept WAEC or NECO. The next document on my list is the CV. Now, it's very important that you submit your CV when you're looking to put in an application, especially for a master's program. Now, the CV should carry all your work experiences since you left school. Some people, let me even use my students as an example. Some of them, they would just put the current place they are working and then they will just send it to you. No, it's not supposed to be so. You have to put all your work experiences. Anywhere you have more than 5 months study gap, please do well to explain what you were doing in that particular time, so that whoever is looking at your CV, they will know that, okay, this person has been engaged all through, you get. And then the CV should be properly arranged in a proper chronological order. Some people, when they are trying to date their work experience, they will just put 2023 and just leave it at that. Please, it shouldn't be so. Your CV should be in this format, month year to month year, so that whoever, like I will keep saying, whoever that is looking at the CV will know that, okay, this is what this person has been doing from this time to this time. The next document is your BSc certificate. Now, it's very, very important that you get your BSc certificate from your university. Sometimes the original copy might not be ready, but you can get the statement of result. But it's very important that you get the original while your application is ongoing. That is, we have used the statement of results, but do it to get the official certificate, because majority of the schools would not give you the unconditional offer without the original certificate, but you can use the statement of result and apply, but then you won't be able to get unconditional offer without the original certificate. The next document is your transcript. We all know that the transcript is the breakdown of your academic performance. So it's very important that you get the transcript as well. It's very, very important. Sometimes some schools might make do with the student's copy, while others would tell you, like the University of Dundee, they will tell you, please get the official transcript, right? So it's very important that you get your transcript ready. Now, the next document is the personal statement. Now, I am always getting these questions from students. What is the personal statement? What is the personal statement? Although we have a sample that we can send to you, but then the personal statement is an essay you are writing explaining why you are going to study that course, how it aligns with your future goals, careers, and all that, and also why you are choosing the UK. Why didn't you go to Canada? Why didn't you go to the US? Why are you choosing the UK? So it should be very detailed, right? Write it as detailed as possible, because you know that this document is what the admission officer is saying. He's not saying you face to face to ask you questions. So it is your document that is going to speak for you. So the personal statement is one important document that you need to take your time. And it shouldn't be something it shouldn't be something that you are always telling people to write for you. I would advise that you give it time, like put in your time and write it by yourself. And this is one reason why you should choose Nexi Concept Limited, because for us, it is not just about putting in an application. When you send this document to us, we are going to go through it. So if you write it the first time and you don't get it right, it's not a problem. When you send it to us, we will tell you where you need to make adjustments, correction, and all that. So the personal statement is also very important. Now we have the reference letter. That reference letter, you can either get your academic reference letter and your work reference letter. Now, that work reference letter is very, very important. It should be on your company's letterhead paper. It's very important that it is on your company's letterhead paper. And then whichever company or organization you're using, make sure that it is an organization that is registered, right? It's very important. So it should be on the organization letterhead paper, stating when you started working there and if you have stopped or if you are still there. It should also outline some of your roles in that organization, and it should be properly dated and signed. So please follow this format. I said it should be on the company's letterhead paper. It should be, it should state when you started working in that organization, if you are still there or you have left, and also it should outline some of the roles. What do you do in that organization? And then it should be stamped and also properly dated. The next document is your tuberculosis certificate. Now, you don't need the tuberculosis certificate at the application stage, but I just had to include it here. You need that one when you're trying to request for cards. So for schools that requires you to provide your TB certificate, most of the schools do. It's just some few schools that will not require you to provide the TB certificate, but most of the schools do. You provide the TB certificate alongside your 28 days bank statement for you to get the cards. And you're not just using it to get your cards, you're also using it at the visa stage. So just make sure, do where to get it from any recognized or UKVI approved centers. We have IOM, we have St. Nicholas, and we have Q Life Family Clinic. Where IOM, you have it in Abuja and Lagos. For St. Nicholas and Q Life Family Clinic, I think you have those ones in Lagos. So just any of them is fine. Then we also have the bank statement. The bank statement is also not required at the application stage, but I had to just include it. Now, the bank statement is, comprises of the balance of your tuition fee and the cost of living in the city you're going to study. So if you reach out, like I said, I don't need it at the point of application, but you need it after you must have, paid your deposit, you've gotten your cash in, because that is the document you need to get your cash. However, this is not applicable to all schools. there are still some schools that will give you your CAS without the bank statement. Yes, so not all schools, but it's important that you just know this so that when you are faced with a school that requires you to provide a bank statement, you know what it entails. So like I said, it comprises of the balance of your tuition fee and your cost of living in the city you're going to. So for the bank statement, but if your school is inside of London, we all know that the cost of living is 10,539 pounds, and if it is inside of London, it is 13,731 or thereabout. So you add whichever it is to the balance of your tuition fee, and then use Rwanda currency converter to convert to Naira. However, you should note that if you are converting it and it gives you 45 million, you're not putting exactly that 45 million. It has to be something a bit higher, just in case the rate goes up. It doesn't affect the money in the account. So this is how it's being done. And like I said, you don't need to worry. We will do the calculation for you once you get to that stage. So these are all the documents you need to put in place once you decide that, okay, I want to begin my study abroad journey. And now we move to the next slide, which is some of these affordable schools that you can apply to as an international student. Hello, Princess. Hi, Princess. Okay, thank you. So here are some of the affordable schools. There are actually more than this, but I just selected this, and we can treat the rest once you decide or when you send us a DM. So for the first one, it is a Keele University. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it well, but you can see the spelling there. Keele, Keele University. It is one of the affordable schools in the UK at the moment. Their tuition fee is 18,200. However, there are discount opportunities, right, available. But before that, they have courses like computer science, management, medical science. They also have top-up courses. So if you have a background or in maybe science and you are looking to go for any medical course, you can consider Keele University. They have top-up in medical science. And like I said, their tuition fee is 18,200. And then for their discount or discount available, if you have a 2-2, you are entitled to 3,000 discount off your tuition fee. If you have a 2-1, you are eligible for you are eligible for 4,000 off your tuition fee. And if you have a first class, you get up to 5,000 off your tuition fee. And then for undergraduate students or students going for top-up, you are also eligible for an automatic discount of 5,000 off your tuition fee, which I feel like this is very, very fair, right? But then they are very, very strict when it comes to their assessment. Now, what do I mean by this? If you have a previous refusal, not just for the UK, if you have a previous refusal for Canada, be it any country, Keele University will not give you an offer. And if you fail to declare and they find out later, if they find out subsequently, they are going to cancel your application. So they are very, very big on what's it called? They are very, very big on visa refusals. And it's very important that you declare. You won't say because you will not be given admission, you will not say, okay, you skip it. If you skip it and let's say, God forbid, you get to the visa stage and unfortunately you're not given a visa and you now have to request a refund, it's very possible that they will not give you back your tuition deposit because they will say that you did not inform them at the application stage that you had a previous visa refusal. So please, it's very important to take note of this. If you have a previous visa refusal or if there's any discrepancies, that is, if you are submitting a particular document at the application stage and then maybe you get your unconditional offer, they are not asking you for one document and then you change one or two things, they are going to cancel your application. That's how strict they are. So make sure that every information you are giving, if you're submitting to Keele University, is accurate because That school, they are no nonsense school, but they are very affordable. Their deposit is 4,000 and no payment upon enrollment, but you start paying 1 to 2 months after resumption. So I would advise that before you even leave, you should just have the 50% kept one side. The fact that you're not paying upon registration, that is enrollment, doesn't mean that you will not pay, because after 1 month, 2 months, they will start asking you. So their balance can be spread in at 5 installments, 4 to 5 installments. But once you get to the UK, when you're trying to do your registration and all that, you are not going to pay any money, except from, I think, the next month, first to second month. Then they also require POS to get cars. That is, they require a 28 days bank statement for you to get your cars, but there's no interview required. So their process is quite seamless. Once you get the unconditional offer, before you pay the deposit, once you have paid the deposit, you will now provide the TB certificate that I talked about and also your 28 days bank statement. Then the school is going to send you your CAS checklist. Then you can now send these 2 documents I mentioned, and then within a week, you get your pass. So their process is quite seamless, just that they are very, very strict when it comes to assessment. Then the next school we have here is the University of Dundee. I know that most of you will be like, University of Dundee is not affordable, but I had to put it here because they have a very perfect payment plan. I'm saying this because I have up to 5 students in Dundee, and from time to time, I check up on them if they're having any issues and all that. And honestly speaking, I'm not even trying to exaggerate. I haven't had anyone who complained, right? It is not one of those schools like Teesside. I'm going to mention it. It's not one of those schools like Teesside that will start, terrorizing you, blocking your students' account and all of that if you don't pay. Now, their own tuition for Dundee is from 21,000 to 23,700 pounds, depending on your course. But then they have an automatic discount here. If you have, they give from 6,500 to 7,500, depending on your qualification. So if it is a 2-1, you get up to 6,500 pounds off your tuition fee. It's automatic. You don't have to do like a separate application, no. And if you have a first class, you get up to that 7,500. So imagine 7,500 or 6,500 off the 23,700. Then their deposit is 5,000 pounds and no payment upon enrollment. So you cannot, split the remaining balance in 7 installments. And like I said, Dundee is not one of those schools that would start terrorizing you. You can quote me anywhere, right? It's not one of those schools that will start terrorizing you. But it doesn't mean that because they are not asking you for your deposit, it doesn't mean that you should not feel relaxed. No, please don't do that. If you have the money, try to pay. But Dundee is not going to start chasing you like other schools, right? So I've talked about the deposit. Deposit is 5,000 and no payment upon enrollment. Now, do you know one of the perks of studying in Dundee? That is not just studying in Dundee. When you apply to Dundee through Next Concept Limited, you don't have to show POF or do a precast interview to get CAS. I'm not saying this to say that you should be scared or be worried of a precast interview. No, please. As a student going to study in the UK, you should always be ready, because you might escape precast interview at the application stage, but then you might not be so lucky to escape at the visa stage. So be ready. However, you are not doing a precast interview for Dundee. You're not showing a 28 days bank statement for you to get CAS out, but still keep in mind that anything can change, right? But at the moment, you don't have to do a precast interview or show POF for you to get CAS. So once you get the unconditional offer, you proceed to pay your deposit, and then you wait for the cash sheet. Formerly, they do not do cash sheet, but now there's a cash sheet. You just fill it, provide some of the documents like your international passport, your TB certificate, your transcript, some of these documents, and then you just wait for your CAS. I feel like this is wonderful. And I'm more concerned about that, realization you get when it comes to you splitting your payment. That was why I had to include it. The tuition fee, you might say that it is not affordable, but think about how you will not be disturbed. You won't be chased and all that for paying back balance and so. So I had to include it. It's affordable from my own perspective. And I need you to buy to that too. So the next school here is the University of Winchester. This is another affordable school that you should consider if you're looking to go study in the UK. They have courses like international business, public health, and the rest of it. Now, their tuition fee after discount is £12,450. Yes, £12,450. Now, you're paying a deposit of 3,000 to get your card, but upon enrollment, there is an additional payment of 3,000. It was formerly 2,500, but it's been increased to 3,000. After you have paid that 3,000, the next payment should come 4 months after your enrollment, right? And you can spread it in 2 to 3 installments. So this is another school that would not stress you when it comes to tuition balance and all of that. But keep in mind that I said there is additional 3,000 upon enrollment after you have paid the 3,000 here in Nigeria. That is 50%. So this is for the University of Winchester. And then the University of Winchester requires POF and pre-CAS interview for you to get CAS. But this is not a problem as we are going to prep you. I currently have, I think, 2 students for this, and they've all passed their interview. So they are not so, should I use the word wicked? Or so strict when it comes to their pre-CAS interview. They just need to know that this is a serious student, and he or she have made their research about the school. So if you can give your time in making research, you should not have a problem with their pre-CAS interview. So they require POF and, pre-CAS interview for you to get CAS. And their CAS does not take time. It's just within a week, you should get the CAS from Winchester. So the next school here is the University of Sunderland. This is another affordable school in the UK, right? But for Sunderland, they require a deposit of 50%, but you can pay 3,500 here. But upon enrollment, keep in mind that you'll be expected to pay 50% of the tuition fee. Yes, for you to conclude your registration. And then one thing about Sunderland, right? If you have a previous visa refusal, you would also not get CAS. They have specified on this is a recent update. If you have a previous CAS refusal, please, there's no need to bother. If they find out, you're not going to get CAS. So if you know that you have a refused visa before, there's no need to try the University of Sunderland because they are very big on that. And then for some of their courses, they will be doing a pre-CAS interview. Not all courses, but for some of the courses. The next school here will be... Okay, yes, these are some of them that I have put together. Like I said, there are more than this, but time will not permit us to start mentioning all, but there are still some affordable schools that you can apply to. Now we'll just go to the next slide, which is schools that accept HND for direct masters. So we all know that majority of these schools will want to accept a BSc for direct masters. However, there are some of them that can accept your HND, right, for a direct masters. And number 1 here is Edinburgh Napier University. So Edinburgh Napier University, I wouldn't say they are that cheap, but then they accept a 3rd class and also HND for their direct masters. Although sometimes it could be on a case-by-case basis. If your result is too poor, you will be rejected. But they accept HND for direct masters, and their tuition fee is from 18,000 to 21,000 pounds, depending on the program. They give an automatic discount of 2,500, right? 2,500 of the tuition fee, and this is automatic. There's no separate application for it. The deposit is £4,000 and no payment upon enrollment. So the remaining balance can be spread in up to 10 installments. Yes, but you're not paying anything upon enrollment after the 4,000 you pay here in Nigeria. They also require proof of funds and a pre-CAS interview. So for them, once you get a conditional offer, you are expected to provide the conditions and then get the unconditional offer. Once you have gotten the unconditional offer, you can now pay deposit. After you have paid the deposit, you will now be sent the CAS shield. So you fill the CAS shield, get your interview done via the CAS shield, and then upload your bank statement as well as the TB certificate, and you'll be issued your cards. So this is the process for Edibon Napier University. The next one is Scotland Rural College. Yes, they have campuses in Edinburgh and Napier, and I would always say that England is not just the best, is not the only best place for you to study. Scotland is another good place for you to study. You can make your research to confirm this. So for Scotland Rural College, they are located in Scotland. They also have campus in Edinburgh and Aberdeen. Their tuition fee, they also have health courses, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, they have some health courses. Their tuition fee is £20,000. Yes, and they accept HND for their direct masters. However, it should be an upper credit. Yeah, I think they can sometimes consider lower credit, but it is also on a case-by-case basis, right? But the generally accepted one is the upper credit. £20,000 for tuition fee, location in Edinburgh and Aberdeen, and their deposit is £5,000. However, they also have discount opportunities. So the thing is, before now, I would have said that for HND students, they give 6,000. But I just noticed that they can give you up to 9,000 discount off your tuition fee. So imagine it's giving you 9,000 of 20,000. You're left with just £11,000. You pay your deposit 5,000 and it's remaining 6,000. This is even going to ease your POF and all of that. So they give up to 9,000 scholarship of your tuition fee, even as an HND student. So I'm not just going to, like I said, before now I would have said £6,000, but I noticed the student got up to £9,000 and he has HND. So you can get as high as £9,000 of the 20,000 discount. So they accept HND and also a third class. Tuition fee, I said, is 5,000, no payment upon enrollment, right? The remaining balance is spread in 4 installments. So the school will let you know how they want you to pay, but there's no payment upon enrollment after the 5,000. And then for this school as well, they require a precast interview, right? And you're also showing a 28 days bank statement to get your cards. So I would advise that once you get the conditional offer, try to secure the unconditional, or try to do your precast interview first before you make payment. Because sometimes you might just proceed to pay the deposit and you get your interview done and you discover that you did not pass it. Instead of going through all the stress of requesting a refund, I would advise that you do your precast interview, make sure you have passed, and then you can pay your deposit. The next school will be, okay, University of West Bristol. Yes, for the University of West Bristol, they also accept HND, whether lower credit or upper credit. They accept for direct masters. Their tuition fee is 17,000. It could be more depending on the course. Discount is from 2,000 to 3,000 pounds. I don't know if anything has changed, but they give discount up to 3,000 pounds. Their deposit is 5,500 pounds. However, there is an additional payment upon enrollment, which is 3,000, and then the remaining balance can be spread in 5 installments. Yeah, this is based on what my last student paid. So deposit is 5,500, but there's no precast interview, but you're showing POF for you to get your CAS. The next one that accepts HND for direct master is HSU Business School, but they just have one course, which is Global Healthcare Management, right? So if you have a background in health, not necessarily just an academic background, if you also have work experience, you can apply. But then they have, if your result is more than 10 years, there's no need to apply. They won't give you an offer. So, but anything from 10 years downward, you can apply. And their tuition fee is £12,500. No discount. The £12,500 is after discount. So £12,500. Deposit is 3,500. and an additional payment upon enrollment. So you are making an additional payment of 2,500 upon enrollment. Then afterwards, the remaining balance is spread in, I think, 4 to 5 installments, and you start paying 3 to 4 months after resumption. They also require POF for you to get CAS, but there's no pre-CAS interview. And yes, they do CAS shield, but you're not doing a pre-CAS interview. You just, answer the CAS shield, which we can always do for you as well. Provide the 28 days bank statement and then prove, and you'll be issued CAS. Sometimes they can delay when it comes to issuing CAS. So in everything you're doing, you have to be very fast. And for them, once you get the conditional offer, you need to secure the unconditional offer first before you pay deposit. So that's their process. So if you have an offer or you're wishing to apply, we can still put in the application, but I need to be certain that you have your deposit ready, because it's more of a first come first serve. Yes, that's what they do. You have to be very fast, because before you know it, they'll tell you that CAS is exhausted and all that. So if you're applying to HSU, you need to have everything ready, and the application is submitted, and yes, you get your CAS once everything has been provided. Then we also have BPP investing. Now, BPP accepts HND, but upper credit. It has to be upper credit, yeah? But recently, they started accepting, what's it called? HND lower credit for their healthcare management. Yes, if you have maybe HND lower credit, and yes, you wish to apply to BPP University, we can put in the application, as this is one of our direct schools, right? Their tuition fee is from 15,000, although according to the rep, it is subject to change. Deposit is from 6,000 to 6,400, and they have a running intake. So it means that you can still meet up for August or July, August, September. So they have a running intake, and they accept HND, whether lower credit or upper credit, and even a third class. They have few courses, and they have campuses in London and I think Manchester. The next one is the University of Roehampton. This is located in London. They also accept HND for their extended masters, but the tuition fee will be much more. Like the last offer I got for my student, I think he's paying up to 25,000, but there's an automatic discount of 2,500, right, from the 25,000. Now it is 25,000 because it is an extended master's. If you're applying with your normal BSc, the tuition should be around 18,000 with an automatic discount of 2,500. Now for Roehampton, you also have to do a pre-CAS interview and also submit your bank statement for you to get CAS, right? They also have a CAS shield. So once you get the conditional offer, you are expected to meet the conditions of the offer, which normally includes the interview. You're doing a pre-CAS interview. So make sure you do your pre-CAS interview before you pay your deposit. It's very important, because that's cool. They can delay when it comes to refund, and they are also very strict when it comes to their pre-CAS interview. So once you get a conditional offer, please provide the conditions and also ensure you do your pre-CAS interview. Once you have now gotten your unconditional offer, you can now pay your deposit and then provide your 28 days bank statement, and you'll be issued CAS. So this is for the schools that accept HND for their masters. Now we move to the next slide, which is schools that accept third class. Now, most of the schools I mentioned for HND also accept a third class, like BPP. BPP accepts third class for their extended masters. HSU accepts third class for their extended masters. Then we have Ulster University as well. They accept a third class, but not HND, please. Ulster University accepts third class for their extended masters, and the tuition fee will be a bit much compared as opposed to somebody that is using their BSc to apply. If you're using your third class to apply, the tuition fee is from £15,000 after discount. So deposits remain 6,000. It was formerly 5,500, but it's been increased to 6,000. Yes, 6,000. So they also do a pre-CAS interview, and they also require a 28 days bank statement for you to get CAS. So once you get the conditional offer, you are expected to secure your own conditional offer. But if you say you trust yourself, but for me, I usually advise my students to do their interview first, secure the unconditional offer before you pay the deposit. But if you trust yourself and you feel like you can do it, then it's fine. They are not that strict with when it comes to their pre-CAS interview. But yes, you have to do a pre-CAS interview and also provide a 28 days bank statement to get your CAS. Then another thing with this Ulster University, if you also have a previous visa refusal, whether it's for Canada or the UK, right, you are not going to get CAS. I can say this categorically because it happened to my student. She was refused visa in 2024 and we actually declared. I wouldn't advise that you don't declare because you not declaring, if they find out subsequently, this can actually backfire. So please do well to always tell us. I was handling, or I have a student currently. When I asked him, do you have any previous visa refusal for the UK? He just told me no, whereas he had a refusal for Canada. Now, when I was telling him later, okay, I later found out from his uncle that he has about 2 or 3 refusals for Canada. When I was talking to him, he was not telling me that I did not ask for that country. Why would you wait for me to ask for that country? Sometimes I could have a lot on my head because I'm not dealing with just one student, right? So it is your duty as a student. You are the one that knows where you have gotten a refusal. Please do well to tell us. I asked you for the UK. If you know, I don't know the word to use. If you are transparent enough, you will tell me that, okay, I don't have for the UK, but I have for Canada. That makes the job easier. It's not, I wouldn't remember to ask you all questions. So if you know that you have any information that is going to help your application process go swiftly, please do let us know, not until we ask. I understand that it is our duty to ask, but sometimes you can forget, right? So if you know that you have a previous visa refusal for the UK or maybe any other country, Ulster University will not give you CAS. Even if your CAS is already within 76%, they will reject you. But I wouldn't know if this is on a case-by-case basis, but for my 2 students, one of them that was supposed to go from the main intake, she was refused a CAS because of the same issue. So yes, if you have any information that would always help your application go well, please always let us know. But Ulster University accepted 3rd class for their extended masters. And this brings me to the end of my own session. Thank you so much for listening.
All right. Thank you so much, Mary. We'll be handing over to Happiness now, who is also a very experienced counselor who has been handling students' applications for over 5 years now. So please listen in. This is the pre-CAS stage and ensure that you get all of her tips and tricks on how to get your CAS approved or get your CAS issued. Thank you so much. Happiness, you have the floor. Okay, apologies everyone. I think Happiness is trying to get her mic sorted. Just give us 1 minute. Let her quickly sort that out.
Hi, everyone. A pleasant afternoon to you all. So this is Happiness. I'll be taking you all on the pre-CAS stage. Meanwhile, I am a student recruitment officer here at NEXI, but precisely at the Port Harcourt branch. And our office is located at plot 4A, Sani Abacha Road, opposite opposite Bongavilla, GRA phase 3 in Port Harcourt. So if you're within the environs, you're within Abia, Imo, Delta, Bayelsa, Cross River, Akwa Ibom, you're always welcome to our office. All right, so let's move on. Princess, please. So what is pre-CAS? The pre-CAS stage is actually the stage that qualifies you to the CAS stage itself. So the pre-CAS stage comes immediately after you receive an offer. So this actually varies from school to school. For some schools, immediately you get an offer, the CAS shield will be sent to you. While for some, you wouldn't receive the CAS shield until you have paid your tuition deposit and also met every condition. Hello, Princess. Slide, please. So what does CAS stand for? Simply put, CAS, it stands for Certificate of Acceptance to Study. So with your CAS, it means you are eligible to apply for your visa. So invariably, without the CAS, you can't apply for a visa, even if you have an unconditional offer and you've paid your deposit. You would not be granted, you won't be able to apply for a visa except you have your CAS. Now, what this CAS means is you have passed every requirements, you've passed every stage needed, and then you've met every requirement needed, and then you'll be allocated a CAS letter. And this CAS letter comes with a unique number. This is done in such a way that you are not able to use some other person's CAS letter, because each person's CAS number, there is an encryption of your name, or your name is encrypted into your CAS. Even if you can't physically see it written on the number, as soon as it is logged into the UKVI website, it automatically allocates to your name. So you can't really use some other person's CAS to apply for visa. So what are the requirements for this CAS? In order for you to be eligible for your CAS, when you receive an offer, you have to first accept your offer. After accepting your offer, the next thing you would do is for you to pay your tuition fee deposit. There is a little exemption to this, because there are some schools that wouldn't want you to pay your tuition deposit until you've cleared your credibility interview, right? If you need to know more about this, kindly reach out to us. Yeah. So now for selecting, for trying to get into your CAS, you have to make some consideration, right, about accepting your school offers. So here, the first thing you should do is know your course content and career prospects. We've seen where students studied agricultural science and they've been working as human resource officers, and they want to go for masters in social works. And when you have such a student and you tell the student he or she isn't eligible, the student becomes angry. But of course, it's very obvious that both your course and work experience doesn't really tally with the course you're going for. So in order for you not to have future problems, it's best you go with either a course that is related to your previous course, or you go for something you have work experience on. Then another thing you should be putting into consideration here is university ranking and reputation. This is very, very important, especially now that UKVI is on some of these schools. There are schools that I believe, as a counselor, I've never seen UKVI invite their students for an interview. Yeah, if you permit me to mention, I would say University of Liverpool, I would say University of Dundee. Yeah, I think there are some other schools But this is so because the university ranking and reputation of these schools are very exceptional and high. Say, for instance, University of Liverpool, it's one of the Russell schools, right? One of the most highly ranked schools in the UK. So if you're making your decision, kindly go for a school with good ranking and reputation. Then another thing again is tuition fees and scholarship opportunities. Why seeking for schools? I know some of us are working with budgets, right? But it's good you go for schools that you can actually afford, right? That are within your budget. Why doing so? It should be schools with good reputation as well, and then schools that can issue you abundant scholarship opportunities. Example of such school is still Dundee. Yeah, I think Dundee has an average tuition fee of about 16,500, just like my colleague rightly said, Mary. It has a deposit of 5,000. It has about 7,000 worth scholarship, and then the installment plans are spread into 7. So you should always consider this. Then another is location and cost of living. It isn't news anymore that some locations in the UK are more affordable than the others, right? I wouldn't want to mention names here, but yeah, if you wish to study in the UK and you do not have much funds, it is very important you look at the location and the cost of living. Then graduate employability outcomes. There are some courses that are very lucrative than the rest. Some courses are more lucrative than the others. So if you're going for courses or if you're going to study in the UK, one of the things you should be looking into, taking into consideration is employability. This course, is it really lucrative? Would I be able to get something doing after graduation? And then visa success rate and student support services. Yeah. So for here, we actually have some schools that have higher visa success rates than the others, right? So say schools that have good university ranking and reputation. Yeah, then schools that do not have poor tuition fees. Students do not really understand this. For the fact that a school has poor or has, let me not say poor, has very low tuition fee does not guarantee you visa. For me, I would always advise students to go with schools with average tuition fee than going to schools with low tuition. That could actually cause problems for you after CAS issuance. And then when you go for your visa, you might encounter visa delays, and then you could be invited for an interview. Then another question you should ask is, does this course align with my career goals? Can I comfortably meet the financial requirements? What are the post-study work opportunities? And then does the university offer adequate international student support? So these questions should be at the back of your mind before you actually go for it. All right, Princess, please. Hello, Princess. Okay, thank you. All right, so here, what are the compulsory pre-CAS compliance check? So for one to be eligible for pre-CAS, there are things you need to put into consideration because universities are required by UKVI to actually verify that applicants are genuine students. So gone are the days where people use falsified documents. There are a lot of scrutiny ongoing these days. So do not use any doctored or falsified document because from your pre-CAS stage, these documents will be validated or verified. So what are the documents needed for your pre-CAS? We have the academic qualifications. So your academic qualifications are your transcripts, your certificate, your degree certificate, and then English language proficiency. Most times we use either our WAEC, NECO, GC, or proficiency letter, except for few schools that would ask students to provide text of English like TOEFL, IELTS, PT. Then financial preparation. In this, you have to actually show that you've been able to pay your tuition deposit. So what this implies is for you to go for your CAS, you should have paid your tuition fee deposit because at the pre-CAS stage, the receipt of your tuition deposits will be uploaded. Then immigration history. So for some schools, once you have a previous denier, your CAS will be denied. This is the reason why when you meet a counselor, you have to declare all deniers, all previous visa history, whether you have deniers or you have approvers, kindly declare, be it in the UK, Canada, anywhere, kindly declare. It's very important. Reason why you have to declare, even while your application is ongoing, not even during pre-CAS stage alone, is because if you eventually receive your CAS and your visa is denied, the school would not refund you. I've had cases where students never declared. They didn't even tell the counselor that they had previous visa denier, and UKVI found that and denied them. Now, when they wrote to the school requesting for a refund, the school asked them, students refused to do that. The school had to get the denial letter and reason for denial from UKVI, and then wrote back to the school and wrote back to the students that the student is not eligible for a refund because the student lied. And you know, these people, they do not lie false information. They don't like people giving them false information. So kindly declare. It is good you work with a counselor who will tell you, okay, if you have a previous refusal, you are not eligible to apply for this school because this school will issue you CAS. Than for you to lie or even make the application yourself and assume that, oh, you can do it alone, right? One of the reasons why you need a counselor is because of facts like this. Then consistency of application information. So here you have to be consistent with the previous information you used during your study application. Study application here, I mean the information that were given out when you were applying for the for your master's program or for your undergraduate program. Let me take for instance, right? Some persons will say, I work with Dangote groups of company. Why the study application is being made? At that point, they will assume the role of an admin officer. And then at the visa stage, sorry, at the CAS stage, you are not changing from working with Dangote Group to being a teacher in a secondary school. So you can imagine the discrepancies. Now, when the school finds out your CAS will be terminated, your CAS will not be issued, then other inconsistency could come from maybe documentation, right? While you were applying, you used a NECO result, and now they're asking you to upload proof of English language proficiency. You are uploading WAEC results. So such discrepancies should be avoided. So what are the common red flags while applying for pre-CAS? We have inconsistency of academic records. I just stated that. Then unexplained study gaps. So it's quite unfortunate that some of us, since we left school, we've not been working, or for some, before they started working, it took them 1 or 2 years. Now, if you have unexpected study gaps, you have to fill it up. There are ways to actually fill it up, right? It could be that you went for a voluntary work, that period to acquire skills. It could be that that period you were sick. It could be like that period you were going for short courses, and then you have some certifications to actually prove. But whichever way, you have to fill up all unexplained study gaps. This is so because it will come to hurt you during your visa application. One of the reasons why you have to fill up these study gaps during pre-CAS stage is so that it doesn't come back to hurt you during your visa stage, because you have to, whether you like it or not, you have to fill up study gaps at the visa stage. Then mismatch between previous studies and chosen course, right? When you are going for a different course that does not align with your career prospects and it doesn't align with your previous course, it becomes a challenge, and this is actually a red flag. Inadequate financial evidence. So you're applying for your pre-CAS with a proof of funds that isn't either complete, is not up to 28 days, or the balance is not up to the required amount. This is also a red flag, and it can lead to your CAS denial. So what that means is, if you are to upload any bank statement, make sure it is between 28 days and 30, and kindly calculate your proof of funds very, very well with the prevailing exchange rate, and you don't need to use the exact amount of the total of your POF to run your bank statements. You have to actually put extra 2,000 or 3,000 pounds. Now, there are some, I have to say this because it's actually important, because after running your bank statement for 28 to 30 days, the next thing is for you to use it for your visa. And if your bank statement is rejected at this pre-CAS stage, meaning you will not be able to use it for visa, you have to start all over again. So what I'm trying to say now is, some banks have been blacklisted. So banks like Globus and Parallels, and I think Heritage Bank are no longer required, or are no longer accepted, I beg your pardon, are no longer accepted by some schools, although we have seen some schools are already denying students or rejecting these bank statements, but generally we are advising students not to continually use it. Reason is some other schools would come up with same idea like these other schools. So if you wish to, I know it's expensive, but if you wish to, kindly use your original bank, the likes of First Bank, your GT Bank, your UBA Bank, your Access Bank. Kindly use your bank. And talking about this bank statement, if possible, if you wish to go for your CAS, use the bank statements with which, or the bank with which you receive your salary. What I mean is, if you could afford using your salarized bank for your POF, I think that would go a long way to also help. The reason I'm saying this is because it is not a good idea for you to use Bank A during your CAS stage, and then for visa, you're using Bank B. Every document you share at this pre-CAS stage is sent to UKVI, and then UKVI issues your CAS to this school. So they already have your documents, right? So you coming at visa stage to start to change your documents is a red flag already, right? Okay, so the tip here is, ensure all information submitted during admission remains consistent throughout the process. So every document you use during your application, your admission, should be consistent with the documents used during pre-CAS stage, and it should also be consistent with the documents used during visa. Next slide, please, Princess. So next thing on the pre-CAS is the interview preparation. Just like Mary rightly stated, we assist our students with prepping them. We have mock sections with our students. We give them tips, and we give them information on the pre-CAS interview. So, but the common interview questions are these ones slated here, which are, why did you choose to study in the UK? Here you have to mention facts. Facts here, I mean, if there are awards, schools in the UK, or the ranking of the UK, you can state it. In the QS World profile, where is the UK currently? And there are prestigious schools in the UK that have made names. These schools are grouped under the Russell, right? You could mention some of them and the awards they've won. Then aside that, you could also mention other reasons why you chose the UK. Here you have to personalize whatever thing you're saying during your precast interview, you have to personalize it. Do not generalize your answers. Right? Another should be, why did you choose to study in this school? You have to state why you chose to study in the school, just like you're able to give out answers concerning awards, ranking about the UK. You should also do that for your school. And then the location. Why did you also choose that location? And then another should be, why did you pick this course, or why did you choose this course? It could be because you wish your career aligns with your course, you want to marry what you do in your course, or it's like an academic progression. You did your first degree in computer, and you wish to do your second degree in computer as well, so you could grow academically. Perhaps you want to be an academia. So one of the ways you could achieve that is by progressing academically. So you give your reasons why you chose the course. Then why do you want to, what are your future career plans? This question can actually come in different ways. So it could be, what are your future endeavors? What are your post-study plans? So you could state what you wish to achieve after graduation. Then how will you fund your studies? Kindly state how you intend funding your studies. Is it through personal savings? Perhaps you've been working for 2 decades and then you're able to save. So why saying this, remember, you have to also get your payslip, if possible, to actually prove that yes, you earn good salary to have been able to save this amount. Then another way to actually prove this is by saying if your family is sponsoring you, so it could be family funding, right? So, and then it could be a combination of both personal and family sponsorship or funding. Yeah. So preparation tips for this: review your SOP and application documents. So some of these questions were already answered in your SOP. So why answering this question? If you wish to be transparent, it's good you chip in some of the answers gotten from your SOP. Then you have to research your university and the course thoroughly. Here, you know the course module, you know the ranking of your school, you know the awards they've won, and then you know about the location where your school is. And then if there are services, exceptional services the school render to students, you have to also state them. Provide clear and honest answer. Do not provide generic answer, like I said. And your answers should be plausible. They should be realistic. It shouldn't be an answer that an elephant is pregnant and then a dog is bettered. The answers that do not really align. So your answer should be straightforward. Then maintain confidence and professionalism. Remember, some of these precast interviews are pre-recorded, while some are live. So it could be that the school would schedule you for a live interview. What that means is you could be interviewed by 1 staff or 2 or more, and while attending such interview, you could see other persons scheduled for interview same time and same day. While for some it is one-on-one, you and the staff. Here you have to maintain confidence, right? If you fidget or you display an element of shyness, or you're not bold enough, it will affect your interview outcome. Then for the pre-recorded interview, look directly at your camera, be confident, be bold. Nobody is interviewing you. It's just you and AI, right? But it is recorded. A staff will come watch it later. So there's nothing to be scared of. So here we have to avoid memorized answer. Instead of memorizing your answers, like Agatha would say, la cram la pour, you don't like cram and pour. It will be obvious that you actually crammed and pour. And if you cram in a sequential manner, just as these questions arrived there, and during the interview, the questions come from the middle or from the end, you'll be destabilized. You might not even be able to answer the question because the way you arrange this in your memory didn't appear that way. It didn't really appear that way. So it's going to affect you. Instead, know how to answer each question from different angles. Some questions could be rephrased. Some questions could be paraphrased. and you see yourself missing it. Meanwhile, it's same question. All right. So contradicting information in your application. Do not use contradicting information. I've said it over and over. Let that be consistent with your information. Do not change whatever you said in your SOP from what you are giving in your precast interview. Providing unclear career plans. So if you're telling them about your career plans, be straightforward. All right, Princess. Okay, so these days there have been lots of stricter document verification. Obviously, we're all having a share of this from UKVI, from schools. Schools do not want to lose out because they pay for this CAS. And if a school pays for a CAS, the student is denied. The student would want the school to refund or give a total 100% refund. Meanwhile, the school fees, they will be losing out. So if you fall victim of false documentation, the school will seize your finances. I've said this before, you will not get your refund. What are the things that these universities verify? They verify your academic transcripts and certificates. They verify your employment documents. They verify your financial evidence, like your bank statements. They verify your passport details. Have you wondered why, if your passport is already expired and then you write that it will expire next year, that passport will eventually be brought down? This is because it goes through a verification check. They have software that could actually ascertain the veracity of many of these documents. They also verify English test results. So do not falsify your documents. What methods are used in this verification? We have contacting issuing institutions. So many of these universities are in contact with our local universities here because they've been working hand in hand for ages, for decades. Then they have third-party verification services. For instance, NYSC, there are ways schools that would want you to upload your NYSC if you have a study gap. There are ways they could actually ascertain if the NYSC discharge letter is forged, or is doctored. Same is applicable to UKVI. So it is better you get an exemption letter than for you to falsify even if it's an NYSC document. Then there is also direct employer confirmation. So for some of these schools, they would send an email to your employer. They will send an email to your employer asking your employer to give a confirmation if you are a genuine staff and if the position you claim to have worked for years is actually true. So what are the consequences of false documentation? One is CAS refusal. Some schools will automatically refuse you CAS as soon as they find out that one of your documents is falsified. Then withdrawal of admission offer. Of course, when your CAS is refused, even if the admission is not withdrawn, it becomes useless because you can't do anything with the admission letter. So most times when your CAS is refused, admission is also withdrawn. Then if it is not done at this stage, automatically you would have a visa refusal and perhaps a ban. Then potential future immigration restriction. So when you're caught doing this, there is a very high tendency that you would have future immigration restriction. So every application you make will be looked into critically, not just for UK alone, but for other countries like Australia, New Zealand, Canada, France, and the US. So let's be careful with our documents. So here, it is of best behavior to submit only genuine and verifiable documents. Next slide, please. Okay, so here, talking about reviewing refund policies and deposits. because most schools will require a tuition deposit before CAS issuance, it is very, very critical that we look into reviewing refund policy and tuition deposit. Now, are there times where people would ask for refund? Oh yes, in as much as we are into paying tuition fee, it is paramount to also understand that refund could come at any point. And I can tell you that except schools that have rules like Hall London, I think I can only remember Hall London for now, that when your visa is rejected as a result of visa interview, you might not really get your refund. Yeah, so but other schools have their own policy. So in other words, it is very, very crucial and important that you look at the school's refund policy before you make your deposit. There are some schools that are quite flexible. Why for some schools, as soon as you pay your deposit and you want to ask for refund, the only reason why they will give you your refund is if you have a visa denial. Otherwise, even if you're bedridden, they will ask you to defer. So kindly look at the school's refund policy before you continue with the application. All right. So just like I said, most schools will require you to pay a deposit or tuition deposit before CAS issuance. There are schools that do not necessarily need tuition deposits before CAS. If you want to also know this, kindly reach out to one of our counselors. So before making your tuition deposit, please look at deposit amount, look at the payment deadline, look at the payment method, the condition for CAS issuance. Now, some schools have payments before CAS and payments before enrollment. It's very important you understand this. A school could have deposits of 5,000, but they're not asking you to pay outright 5,000 before CAS. They could ask you to pay 3,500 before issuance of CAS and then 1,500 upon enrollment. What that means is when you get your visa and arrive in the UK, you have to balance 1,500 even before you enroll as a student. Otherwise, you'll be repatriated back to Nigeria because you won't be able to enroll. And any student who fails to enroll has defaulted. You are not only putting yourself into trouble, you're also putting the organization that assisted you with the application. So we actually need genuine students that would update their mandates. If you know you're going to pay your tuition fee and enrollment, then good. Do not go there with the idea or perception of running away. You're not going anywhere. All right. So payment deadlines. Each school have payment deadlines. Why some advertise theirs early enough, some do that late. And sometimes this payment deadline could actually change. Say, for instance, a school could have payment deadline for 13th of July. Meanwhile, because of the number of applications that came in before 13th of July and the payments they received, their CAS actually finished before 13th of July. They would want to bring down the payment deadline or even stop it outrightly because they've gotten the number of students they want. So you take cognizance of that as well. Then payment method. Some schools strictly will ask you to pay through Convera. They do not want any other means of payment, so would want you to pay through their Naira account. Some schools have the accounts that are domiciled in Nigeria here. They want you to pay into that account. Some strictly want you to pay through Flywire. While some have different means of or channels of payment. They have Flywire, they have Easy Transfer, they have Convera. You can deposit directly. You can also do international transfer. So you look at the method of payment before you do that. Then conditions for CAS issuance. Critically look at the condition of your CAS issuance before you proceed. There are some schools that, in as much as you have not cleared their credibility interview, you are not even eligible to pay your deposit. How much applying for cash? Why for some schools, as soon as you get an offer, be it conditional or unconditional offer, your cash sheet will be sent to you. So you have to know the condition for cash issuance, right? But let's also have it at the back of our mind that for you to be issued cash, the documents you need are your academic documents, your passport, English language qualification, the receipt of your tuition, deposit, your TB test, and your 28 days bank statement. Then you have to pass your precast interview. That is for schools that do precast interview. Not every school does that. All right, so I think I've spoken about understanding refund policy, but the points we have here are circumstances under which refunds are granted. So some schools have circumstances under which the refunds are granted, and then visa refusal refund process. So for every visa refusal, you have to share the denial letter with your school for you to get a refund. Then administrative charges. So some schools would actually not pay 100% of what you deposited. Some schools could charge £150 as administrative charge. Some would charge, let's say, between £150 to £300 as administrative fee, while some will charge as high as £500. You should also know that. All right. Then withdrawal deadlines. For some schools, if you're not able to meet the CAS deadline, your application will be withdrawn. Then for some, you'll be asked to defer to the next intake. So this is why we always tell students, as soon as you get your offer, if the school does not mandate you to pass your credibility interview, kindly pay your deposit so you can prepare for your CAS. Right? I already stated what CAS is at the beginning of this section. So for me to reiterate, the CAS stands for Confirmation of Acceptance to Study. So it is an electronic document issued by your university and required for your UK study visa. And I said, without your CAS, you can apply for visa. So for the fact you have a conditional offer, you have an unconditional offer, does not guarantee or doesn't even give you the right to apply for visa. So the CAS is, I would say that the CAS is as important as, or even more important than the offer, right? Yeah, because apparently after you get an offer without the CAS, you're not moving forward. So you actually need your CAS for you to progress into visa application. All right, so before CAS is issued, students must meet all academic conditions, complete the pre-CAS checks, pass the credibility interview, pay required tuition deposit, and then submit all requested documents. What are the information that is contained on your CAS letter? So we have your personal details, your name, your sex, your address, your date of birth, then your course details, the name of your school, the name of the course you're going for, your course start date, and then your graduation date, then the tuition fee information, the total amount of your fee, the discount if you have any, and then the tuition deposit and your balance. And then the sponsor license details. Now, the sponsor license details has to do with the name of the school, and then it comes with a unique number. Then your CAS letter also has a unique number for you. That's your CAS ID, right? And these days, most CAS letters come with the name of the organization that assisted you with the application. What that means is, if NEXI is assisting you with the application, our name will be printed on your CAS. And if anything goes wrong, we'll be held liable, right? This is why we are hitting on you using authentic documents, using real documents, avoid malicious documents, avoid falsified documents, avoid doctored documents. Because even if we have no hand in this, right, we'll be asked to provide explanation or even bring you out, So for us to avoid this, please, we are trying to inculcate good habits of maintaining positive documentation all through this process. All right. So Now, when you get your CAS letter, what do? Because at times this CAS letter comes with mistakes, right? So what you do is to carefully go through it, make sure all details are in line with your course and then in line with your personal details. Sometimes they may give you a different course other than what was issued to you during the admission. The admission letter has MSc Business Marketing, Business Management. And then on your CAS sheet, you have international or global project management, So that is a very big mistake. Then at times, there could be a mistake on your name or on your date of birth. So kindly go through your CAS whenever you receive it and then check for mistakes or discrepancies and report immediately so it could be updated or corrected. All right. Next stage. Next slide, please, Princess. All right. So in conclusion, we're going to take this, like I said before, just to recap, select the most suitable offer carefully while preparing yourself, and then complete all pre-CAS compliance requirements accurately, because not until your CAS sheet is completed, it won't start reading. Your CAS sheet will read from 1% to 100%, then it will be issued. So if at the point of scrutiny and then the school finds out that there is something missing or something is not sitting well, there will be a note on the chart, and then your CAS will continue, would be suspended. Not until that is provided, you won't be able to move forward. Then prepare thoroughly for your pre-CAS interview. Take your pre-CAS interview seriously, please. Practice as though your life depends on this. I think sometimes or most times you can even go through this pre-recorded interview, and if they feel you didn't perform well, you're likely to be called for another interview. I know there are different reasons why people are called for interview, but I want to believe this is one of the reasons as well. So you take your pre-CAS interview seriously. We can prep you, we can book you for mock interviews, make corrections, but we can't sit for your pre-CAS interview. It is your pre-CAS interview. So if other persons are doing it, why not? You can also do it, all right? Then submit authentic and verifiable documents. I have hammered on this several times. Please, guys, let's continually submit authentic and verifiable documents. Then understand tuition payments and refund policies. When you have an admission, kindly go through the tuition payments and the refund policies in case you are denied CAS or you are denied visa, right? I know some person she's pessimistic. Yeah, I'm not being pessimistic here, but we don't really know what the future holds. And with lots of scrutiny, with lots of tightening of borders coming from UKVI, it's good to just prepare, right? While we're being hopeful, would also want you to prepare. We don't want a situation where things will be difficult for you. All right, so you review your CAS thoroughly before applying for your visa. Okay, so this will bring me to the end of my session. Thank you for being thank you for having me here and for being in attendance. Thank you. Bye.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Please confirm if you can hear me and see me. Great. So I was supposed to wait for Anita to introduce me, but we are sort of running out of time, so I'll just go straight into it. My name is Amadi Georgina, and I will be the one taking the visa and post-visa stage session for today. So First things first to understand is that we have 4 stages for this. We have the visa application stage, we have the visa decision stage, the travel stage, and enrollment stage. And if you've been listening from the beginning of this session, you would see that there is a lot involved in the admission stage, the pre-CAS stage, and all of that. So, but imagine going through all that stages, you know, having to have paid your tuition deposit, spending millions of naira for your bank statement or those that run proof of fund, and then you get to the visa stage and you don't get to do the right thing. All of that money goes to the drain, all of the efforts goes to the drain. I'm sure that nobody wants this. So that's the reason why we're having this session today, to address these issues. At the end of this session, my objective would be to pass on detailed information on the documents that are required for a successful visa application, the recent UKVI policies, and the common reasons for refusals, what to expect after receiving a visa, and of course, how to prepare for your travel and enrollment. So starting off with the first thing, which would be the documents that are required for a UK student visa application. So we should also note that documentation matters a lot. You don't really get to speak to them firsthand, except when you are called for an interview. We'll get to that later. So the first thing that they get to see when they receive your application or when they receive your profile is your documents. So the visa application is like evidence-based. UKVI doesn't do decisions based off of intentions or promises. They access your documents to determine whether they are going to give you a visa or not. So part of what they are checking is whether this student is genuine, whether your funds are genuinely available to you, whether you meet the immigration requirements, and whether you as a student have completed all that is required. So first things first, we have the bank statements, we have CAS statements, degree certificates, the English tests, sponsorship letter, academic transcripts, tuberculosis test, proof of marriage, employment documents, international passports. So some of these documents do not apply to everybody. Some of the documents, meaning proof of marriage, if you are a student and you're single, I mean, you're not expected to go and bring out a proof of marriage document from nowhere. So for that, you would not be requiring such documents. Sponsorship letter, this is particular to students who would be using a sponsor, right? So we usually require that students bring a sponsorship letter or a consent letter to state that, okay, so person has agreed to sponsor me. Usually either your mom, your dad. We don't like to go outside the nuclear family. Nuclear family meaning mom, dad, brother, sister. Once we start entering into extended family, it becomes a little more complicated. Not that it is not possible to do. Anybody can actually sponsor you, but it depends on the student's profile, and everybody's situation is different. So I can't generalize it, right? So that's what the sponsorship letter is for, just to state that you'll be sponsoring, this person is going to be sponsoring you with so amounts. The amount will be stated, the signature will be there, the dates will be there. And of course, the amounts that you're going to be using to sponsor the students would also be stated, right? So I'm going to be talking majorly on 3 documents. I've spoken on the sponsorship letter. Let's talk about the bank statement. I'm trying to work with time. If not, I would have probably just given a breakdown of everything. So the bank statement, this is one of the most important documents needed for the study in the UK. The requirement as of today is still 28 days. However, some people are speculating on different group chats, different websites, that they might soon start to increase this to 2 to 3 months bank statement is what will be required. As much as the UKVI website has not confirmed this information yet, it is just good that we start to prepare our minds for this, because this is almost what it will start getting to. Because now they have started asking for more documents other than bank statements. They started asking now for pay slips. They started asking for employment letter, which they usually would not ask for. We'll get to that. So, but for the bank statements, it is very important, like I said earlier. Part of what we don't want to see is large sums, lump sums, sums that cannot be explained. That's large credits into the account. If, for instance, you have like an account that's having 2 million credits transaction into the account on like an everyday basis throughout the 28 days, it's questionable and it needs to be explained, especially if you're self-sponsoring. If you are using a sponsor, then we would have to look into what your sponsor does and how to address the fact that, okay, this large sums entered into this account. Of course, we'll need to now have like a proper or detailed explanation as to why we have this in the bank statement. So all of this, like I said earlier, is based on documentation clarity is what they want to see. Then, of course, the bank statement should also come from a credible bank, like my colleagues earlier mentioned. They have banned some banks being Heritage Bank, Globus Bank, Paralex Bank, and even some institutions that have savings and loan in their name. Then also there are some unacceptable accounts right now, microfinance accounts, investment or fixed deposit accounts, joint accounts with spouse, business or corporate accounts, mortgage or mortgage bank accounts. And for this band is not particular to all schools yet. However, we got this information or this source from the QA Higher Education, and schools that are under the QA Higher Education are the London Metropolitan University, the Northumbria University, Oxford Brookes University, Solent University, Swansea University, Ulster University. Then we also recently got an information from Edinburgh Napier University, which has been added to the list. So if your schools are part of these schools I have mentioned, then you should note that. And if you are using these banks that I've also mentioned have been banned, please note that you might not be able to proceed with that bank. So two advice I'm going to give. One would be, if you have a sponsor, do well to reach out to somebody who can sponsor you and use any of these banks that have not been mentioned that have been banned. That's one. Then two, the second option would be to restart your the running of your bank statements. I know that this might be a lot cost effective and inconvenient for a lot of students, but just to be on the safe side, because this is like a news that came out earlier last month, and we hope that we don't get to even see more schools added to the list or more banks added to the list. But for now, this is what we have. So that's that on the bank statement. Another document I would like to highlight is the CAS statement. So my colleagues have earlier spoken about CAS. What a CAS is a confirmation of acceptance of study to a school. This is literally the last document you get after your offer letter, after the pre-CAS interview. This is like the document you get before you even say you want to move to the visa stage. So for this document, it's very, very important because it carries literally major informations like your course, how long your course is going to take, that's the duration of your course, the level of your course. Some people might be going for undergraduate studies, some people might be going for masters, and all of that. Then it also carries your name and your international passport number. Sometimes we get students that have issues with maybe a letter is missing from their name on their CAS statement, or the date of birth is not correct, or maybe the CAS number is not complete. So we've had issues like that. So it's best that you reach out to your school if you have such concerns, so that they can amend it before you use it for the visa application, so that we don't have any issues when you get to visa, right? Yes, this mistake might have, or the error might have occurred from the school. They're humans, which is why once you notice such, make sure to reach out to them so that it is rectified before you use it for the visa application. Another document I would like to highlight today would be the employment document. So the employment document has different sub-documents. So sub-documents meaning the employment letter, the pay slips, the reference letter. Under this employment document, so the reason why we started asking for employment documents is because we're trying to cover the study gaps. And study gap in this, or what is a study gap? It's the period of time between when you finish school and till date, what you're doing now. So between that time, take for instance, a student who finished school in let's say 2014, and we're in 2026. What have you been doing since 2014 till 2026? This is what we're trying to get out of this employment document or out of this documents that we're requesting to cover the study gap. So some of these documents could also include the NYC certificate. So some people finish school, if you finish school 2014 and then you go to serve in 2015, you can just bring your NYC certificate to cover when you started your service in 2015 to cover till 2016. Already that covers a 1-year gap, right? Then if after 2016 you start working, then you're expected to bring a work reference letter. Mary, my colleague earlier, explained what a work reference letter should look like, but I'm going to reiterate, right? So this is very important because we always even encourage that students bring work reference letter instead of an employment letter. Why? Because we know that most Nigerian students use POF. And when you're showing an account that has, let's say, 55 million, for example, and you have an employment letter that is showing that you are earning 300,000, you see that it doesn't match up. It's not balanced, right? So we try as much as possible to avoid anything employment letter or a letter that will state what you're earning currently. So instead, we prefer that you bring a reference letter, a work reference letter. So if you have worked in, let's say, 2 to 3 places since you finished school, then it means that you have to provide letters to cover these places. You can't just bring one document to cover for the full thing, except if genuinely you have worked in just one place that covers that period of time, then that's fine. So this reference letter is supposed to be on a letterhead. That's your company letterhead. It's supposed to be signed, stamped, dated. It's supposed to cover the period of time when you started working there and when you stopped working there. If you're still there, then it's supposed to state the period of time when you started working there till date. Then it's supposed to obviously carry your name, the company name, which is also automatically the company letterhead. Then it's supposed to carry your duties and your current position. So why this document is very important, honestly, is because in recent time, we have seen that the UKVI has started putting a lot more scrutiny on this particular document. So you see students that come with work reference and they just tell you, oh, my uncle or my friend owns so company. So I just asked him for a letterhead and drafted this work reference by myself. Some don't even have relatives that have this company. They just go to a cyber cafe or do wole. I don't know if we know what that is, but yeah, they just do that and then draft it by themselves. And unfortunately, if this used to work before, at least I'll say maybe 2023, early 2024, this used to work for some students and they get away with it and it flies. But now, UKVI can go as far as even the contact details that you have on your reference letter, they might not contact that particular number. So take, for example, quick story, guys. I know that I'm running out of time, but I need to say this. So I had a student who wanted to go to the UK to study, and he initially was working in UBA Bank. But at the time when we wanted to put in the application, he had already left UBA Bank, like he was no longer working there. But because he had access to, obviously, he still had colleagues in UBA, he still had people that could help him with this document. So he went, got the reference letter, drafted it to make it look as if he was still working there. Unfortunately for him, the application was delayed. We'll get to the reasons why they are delaying applications very soon. So the application was delayed, and this student got tired because he was already running out of time. His course start date it had already even passed. So he got tired and said, let's withdraw the application. So we withdrew the application, and the UKVI said, no, you have withdrawn your application, but we will still look into your matter. So they ended up denying the fact that he had withdrawn the application and still went ahead to dig further into the student's background and discovered that the work reference he had presented was falsified. Falsified meaning that he had tampered with this document. And this is a huge, huge deal because this got the students a 10-year ban. not a refusal, but a 10-year ban. So it is actually a very, very important document. So that's the reason why I'm emphasizing on it now, so that we take notes. So in as much as we might have one friend or the other that might be able to get us this document, just note two things: that the document must be genuine. I've earlier explained what a genuine work reference looks like. So please take note of all of this, because it is very, very important, right? So this student that I'm talking about that worked in UBA is a very big, is a big bank. It's a well-known bank in Nigeria. So imagine going to falsify a document like that, and he didn't even tell me his visa advisor, right? So it's one thing to even tell us so that we at least know and have the best advice to give to you. If I had known, honestly, we would not have used that document, right? So, but unfortunately for him, he presently is just entering into the first year of his 10-year ban. So this is why this document is important, right? So another document would be for those that are not working a 9 to 5, and maybe it's business that they run. For you, you don't need to now start preparing an employment letter or bring in pay slips, because most Nigerians don't even pay themselves to begin with. Instead, you would be providing a business certificate. That your business should be registered under CAC, and it should be active. Active meaning that your business is paying tax. And there is a portal that we use in checking this. So it's not something you can really skip, right? Because the moment you bring your CAC, that's the first thing that we check. Moving on. Next slide, please. Okay, so what has changed? A lot has actually changed from September 2025 till date. For one of the things that have changed will be the living costs for international students. So for inside London, it has increased from £13,347 to £13,761. This is for a year. For outside London, it has increased from £10,224 to £10,539. For the visa fee, it has increased from £524 to £558. However, the IHS is still remaining the same, which is £776, right? So the reason we're stating this now is for you to note, especially for those who will be calculating their bank statements. Remember that calculation of your bank statement is the balance of whatever tuition you have to pay to the school, plus we add this to the living expense. So if your school is located outside of London, now you know that the new amount is 13,761 per year, if you did not already know this information. Then for the visa fees, because we have a lot of students who say, oh, but on their website, I'm seeing £558. And then at the point of payment, you are now seeing a different amount in USD. So when you want to pay your visa fee or IHS fee, it has an automatic equivalent in USD, that's in dollars. You're not paying in pounds, right? So this is why it always looks like that. Nobody's trying to eat your money. It is just what it is, right? So for another thing which has changed in the last barely up to a year is that for students who want to bring their spouse or their children, this is no longer allowed, especially for those that would be going for a master's degree program or an undergraduate degree program. So, but it is still allowed for those who want to go for a PhD studies, those who want to go for a research-based postgraduate studies or postgraduate program, right? In as much as I know that it might be a bit difficult getting for those who want to, popularly known as EMRES. For those who want to do an EMRES program, the scrutiny is a bit more for them, especially at the visa stage. Getting CAS, maybe not so much, but at the visa stage, there's a lot more scrutiny. Sometimes they are even called for interview more than those that are going for a master's program. This is what we have seen over time. Another thing which has changed will be the post-study work permit duration. So initially it was up to 2 years. That's after you finish your school, you're given up to 2 years to get a job, get settled in. But now it has been reduced to 18 months. Another important thing which has changed would be the UKVI interviews. So I said I was going to get back to this, right? So we have UKVI interviews popping left, right, and center, right? Unfortunately, Nigerians, we don't like to do interviews because it's a scary site, and it just gives room for them to see our loopholes, right? So, but working with Nexi Concept Limited, we would definitely give you at least 3 to 4 prep sessions before you have your interview. So we tackle all interview questions, starting from, because we have seen a lot of students, we've worked with a lot of students over the last 13 years. So you can imagine the kind of experience we have. So when we're prepping you for this session, we're not just going over questions, we're making you see deep insights as to how to give detailed response to these questions. So take, for example, a student who doesn't know their course models. And there's a student recently who we had a prep session with, and we were asking the student for the course models, and he didn't know any. He knew just one of the course models, and he couldn't even explain it. Meanwhile, we have had a student who had an interview with the UKVI, and this student already was confident about explaining 3 of the course models. But when it was time for the interview, the interviewer asked for the full course models, like for him to name the full 11. I think he had 11 models in his course. He was able to name it, and she picked out 1 out of the 11 he named for him to explain. But unfortunately, because this student had not learned all 11 models, I know that it can be a bit cumbersome in the brain when you try to learn all or explain all 11 models. But these people, the reason for this interview is not because they are trying to scare us away. They actually need us. They need international students for their schools. So yes, we are more like an asset to their country. But because the inflow is becoming too much, and we're a little crowding their space. So they are trying to fish out, because they've gone a little overboard. And we have a lot of students who have not been genuine over the years, not from our agency, but we've had some students who just go there for the sake of, in our Nigerian terms, japa. So they go there and they end up not doing what they actually went there to do, which was to study. They go there and they just literally stop attending classes, stop doing any assignments, stop taking any coursework, and just leave school hanging. Some of them get there, they are not able to afford their tuition balance and all of that. Speaking on tuition balance, just before I go ahead, over time, I have realized that it gives you more of an advantage if you pay your tuition in full from Nigeria. So instead of the regular tuition deposit where you're paying £4,000, if you're paying, if for instance, your tuition fees is maybe £18,000 and you're able to afford to actually pay the £18,000, please pay the £18,000 from here, because it will give you a better advantage when you get to the visa aspect of your application, right? So back to what I was saying. So yes, they will ask you questions like, what are your course models? They expect that you know this course models, explain it to the very T. You're not just giving them one-word answers or one statement answers. That's not what we're looking for. If that's the case, then why are they calling you for an interview? So this interview is just to be sure that, okay, this person knows what they're doing. This person is indeed a genuine student. This person is really coming to our country to study. Take for example, why have you chosen to study in the UK? This is also one of the questions that they ask during interviews. And if you're giving them the generic answer of, oh, because the UK has a good reputation, these are like answers that you get on ChatGPT, and we don't want that. Yes, of course, you can use ChatGPT as a research ground, but that should not be the only answer, right? You're giving them in details the reason why. Some people can even take, for example, your answer can be, oh, because I have a family member or a family friend who has currently studied in, let's say, Dundee University, for example. I have a friend who has studied in Dundee University. I got to learn firsthand from my experience how it was for her as an international student. And because of this has given me like a motive to also study in Dundee University. So you can see that this is based on my personal experience. I'm not giving a generic answer. I'm not giving answers that were just automatically generated from, from an AI website, right? So back to another thing that has changed since September 2025 till now. Some schools have banned the use of some financial institutions which students use to run their proof of fund or their bank statements. I have earlier addressed this, the banks that were banned, the Heritage Bank, Paralex Bank, Globus Bank, and the other institutions that I also mentioned that are currently already keying into these changes. Then another thing to look out for is the delayed visa decision. So unfortunately, they have not been really keeping to their timeline, which is usually 15 working days for a standard processing time for a visa, for a study visa to the UK. But now some people's visa application is taking as long as 1 month. Some are even longer than 1 month. In fact, not to scare you, but we have students who even paid for priority or super priority. If you don't know what priority service is a service that allows you get your visa application decision gotten in 5 days. This is for priority service. For super priority service, it means that you'll get your visa decision in 1 day, 24 hours, literally. And these are like services that you can pay for when you're about to book your biometrics. So, but unfortunately, even people that are paying for this, because it's a lot of money, priority service is £500. Super priority service is £1,000. So, but even despite paying this amount of money, UKVI really doesn't send you like that, like for lack of proper words, right? So not to say that a lot of all the people that have used it did not get their decision in those time, but we're just looking at the majority number now. In recent times, they have not really been sticking to that timeline. So this is just an information that we thought to pass to you today. Again, this is not to scare you, but it's just so that you know what we're going through at this time as an international student. Next slide, please. So common reasons for the UK study visa refusals. One of the reasons would be a failed credibility interview. I earlier talked about the interviews that students have been called for, how to tackle them, the fact that you see it as, oh, sorry, I forgot to mention that some students believe that, especially students that did precast interview, they believe that is the same thing with a precast interview. Please cancel that notion, because what you did, yes, it might be the same questions. However, they want more clarity. They want more details when you're doing a UKVI credibility interview, right? So it is not the same with a precast interview. The questions again might be similar, but the way you answer them is not the same way. So this is the reason why we always prep our students before they go for an interview, right? And they are not particular, because you see some people saying things like, oh, why did they pick me for an interview? Is it because we answered so question on the form this way? Is it because we did this? Is it because we did that? It's not, so there's no particular reason why. We have noticed over time that they are just randomly selecting people for interviews, right? But I would say two things for sure, two categories for sure that I know is the reason why they have been selecting is if you have a previous visa refusal, you will most likely be called for an interview, especially if it's more than one refusal, two refusals, whether it's to the UK or not, right? Another category of people that I know that they have been, will I say, picking on are people that maybe they applied in January, for example, but because of the delay from this same UKVI, they couldn't wait and they had to withdraw their application. So when they now want to reapply, they dig out their file from before and then call them for a credibility interview. I would say that these are the two categories that have been majorly called for interview in recent times, right? So another reason for a UK study visa refusal would be undeclared visa refusal or travel history. So my colleagues earlier mentioned how there was one of our students that did not mention they had a refusal. We've had students like that, unfortunately. Some students, I will give them grace and actually say that maybe they genuinely did not remember that they had a refusal, which is weird, but again, grace. So yeah, but it's very important that we mention any visa refusal whatsoever. It doesn't have to be to the UK. Any country whatsoever, mention it, declare it to your student counselor, declare it to your visa advisor, because we're going to have to declare it on the form. And if we don't, that poses a huge risk for you, because the moment they dig into your history and find out that you did not declare, they'll see it as misinformation or you wanting to hide the truth or not declaring because you feel like it would pose a risk on your present application, right? Let them be the judge of that. But the major thing is that you should declare. And it is not a case of you declared during your admission stage. Then when you get to visa stage, you will not now declare, or vice versa. You didn't declare at the admission stage. Then when you get to visa, you want to declare. It's going to pose a huge risk for your application. So please, from the beginning till the end, make sure that this is well stated, right? Another thing that could cause a refusal would be inconsistent information across all documents. So remember that I earlier said that some people's cars, maybe they could make mistakes, or maybe things like, let's even leave cars, things like your birth certificates. Some people on their WAEC, they might have maybe their birth certificates, their birth year saying 1996, and then on their other documents is showing 1998. Because you know how some people can maybe reduce their age when they want to write WAEC. It was a thing back then. I don't know if people still do that. So, but yeah, or it could just be a genuine mistake from whoever was handling it at the time, right? So if you have cases like that, simple, just make sure that you have an affidavit to back up this change in information or this error on your documents, right? Make sure to have an affidavit to cover this. For another reason could be weak or poorly documented proof of fund, right? So some people have their bank statements already 28 days, but in the transaction, they don't have it properly done. Remember, I explained what lump sums or large sums are earlier, and you might have people that just come and deposit the money, or maybe they have like 51 million in the account, and then they print the 51 million on the day the 51 million entered. That is not acceptable. It's especially when it is not even your genuine money. You did proof of fund and you decided to print when the money entered from the proof of fund people. It is not allowed. It would not even work out at all. You have just exposed yourself to a lot of risk, right? Then we also have sums that cannot be explained. I already talked about earlier. Late visa application submission. So for students, I know that sometimes it's not really the student's fault. Maybe if you have your intake for September and you're just submitting your visa application maybe late in August, let's say 2 weeks to the end of August, that already is a late submission. And because of the recent delays that UKVI has started or has been onto, it's not going to help your situation at all. Again, I earlier mentioned that even people that are paying for priority and super priority, it doesn't really change much at this point. Yes, it might help because we've had students that actually the priority and super priority worked for them, but we can't guarantee that it will work for everybody. So as much as possible, submit your applications early. We already have students, we're in June, we already have students that have their intake for September and they are already submitting their visa application now in June. This is an example of an early submission, and you have greater chance, no matter how they want to waste time, they cannot waste time for more than at least 2 months, if at all, so they will definitely get back to you before your intake. Another thing would be inconsistent study history and unclear career progression or poorly explained study gaps, right? I earlier explained what study gaps is. For the inconsistent study history. So we have students that maybe you study, let's say, engineering, for example, and then you want to now go and study for your master's, you want to go and study, let's say, fine arts, you see that there is no correlation in these two degrees, right? So except if the student has a work experience or a work background in fine arts, it makes more sense to now draft a letter explaining this progression or this career progression, right? So this is just like a sample of the career progression that they're expecting. You cannot study A and then want to go and study Z as masters, especially if there was nothing in between that relates to what you want to go and do for your masters. There has to be that progression, because these are also part of questions that they ask during a credibility interview, and you have to explain, oh, why this course? What's the reason why I want to go and do my masters now, and why do I want to study this particular course now? So if you're explaining to them that, oh, during my work in so place, these were the roles that I took, these were my responsibilities, which further leads me into what I want to study and how it's going to affect you in terms of your career growth when you return back to Nigeria. Of course, you're sounding like somebody who knows what they're doing. You're sounding like somebody who's sure of, oh, this is truly a clear path to which I want to go into. So another thing to look at is fake work experience, fake employment claims, fake sponsors, manipulated statements. Some people still do backdated statements, or making the statement look like the money is there, but the money is not actually there. My hands are not there. This we cannot overemphasize on this enough. I gave a story of my UBA students and what the student is currently facing now. That student cannot even bother to go to the UK for the next 10 years. So except if they want to try another country, which will even still be a risk, because by the time they check the reason for the ban for the UK, it's as good as not trying to travel anywhere for now, because they will see it as you might want to do the same thing for our country as well. So please, next slide. Okay, so for the post-visa updates and what you're expected to do, the UK has continued moving from the regular visa vignet or visa stamps, visa stickers. They are now doing e-visas. And e-visas now, you have to link your current accounts to your e-visa profile. So the moment you get your visa, everybody's happy. We're happy as an agency. You're happy as a student. Family's happy, but don't stop there, because you should link your e-visa, and it's something that we can actually put you through. Once you get the email that your visa has been approved, we can put you through on how to go about it here at Nexi Concept Limited. It's part of the services that we render for free to our students. Then another thing to also make sure that you do is your flight arrangements, accommodation arrangements. Most people don't like to pay for accommodation ahead of time, because they want to be certain that they have gotten the visa first before they make accommodation arrangements. So the moment you have seen that, oh, your visa has been approved, please make sure that you make these arrangements before you travel. Or if you want to get there first before you do that, then that's also fine. But of course, you cannot do flight arrangements when you get there. You have to do it ahead of time. Book your flights. We also offer flight services here at Nexi Concept Limited. So it's something that we can also assist you with if you don't already have that. Then also make sure to take note of your enrollment deadlines. So there's the course start dates, then there's also enrollment deadlines. So you make sure that you travel before your latest date or your enrollment deadline date, right? Just to avoid any issues, because even at the entry border, they will ask you for some of these documents. And if it's not up to date or up to speed, you might be sent back. We've had students like that. Yes, they got to the entry border and they sent them back simply because of details I cannot share here right now at this time. But yes, we've had cases like that. Some cases have been, the one I can share, some cases have been the student got there, but unfortunately the student had already removed money from the account statements as to what was used during the visa stage. So what we advise students is the bank statement you used for visa. Yes, some of you might be running proof of fund, and I know that the cost might be a lot for you to bear. Even if you want to take out the money after you have been given your visa, when you're about to travel, make sure that you put this money back into the account at least 2 days before, so that when you get to the entry border and they request for it, you can easily show them. Then once you have crossed the border, of course, you can do as you will. Thank you. Next slide, please. Okay, thank you. So this brings me to the end of my session today. I do hope that I've been able to clear out my objectives for the day. Just to reiterate, I earlier talked about the documents required for a successful visa application. I talked about the recent UK policy changes, the common reasons for refusals, what to expect after you have received your visa, and of course, how to prepare for your travel and enrollment. So thank you. I'll be handing over the mic to Anita to conclude this session for today. If you have any questions, please, you can unmute and ask or drop it in the comments. We would answer immediately. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much, Georgina. Thank you everyone for joining us for this session. We're really grateful that you were able to make out time to attend, and we hope that you've been able to take away some key points and valuable points. All our counselors are on this call as well as our visa advisors. So you can please fill the form in the chat box if you would like any of them to contact you immediately. But in the meantime, I'll just be taking questions for the next 5 minutes. So if you have questions, please raise your hand so that we can let you unmute and then ask your questions, and we will be responding. And if you're too shy to do that, you can drop them in the chat box. The counselor will be responding almost immediately, or fill the form in the chat box and then one of them would reach out to you. Okay, hi Jalil. I think I can see your hand raised. Okay, admin, please let Jalil unmute and ask questions.
Hey, everybody.
Yes, I can hear you, but it's a little low.
I just want to ask about their stage different in the international passport and the certificate. Is there any indication of that? So I just want to question.
Okay, Jalil, I'm struggling to hear you. It seems like you're far away from your device or your background is noisy. Okay, while I'm waiting for Jalil to be able to sort out I have a question from a woman here who says, talking about using your salary account for proof of funds, what if you don't have such an amount? And for people that works in the bank, that their accounts are monitored, such huge amounts can go in, what can we do? I would say that this question is very sensitive and I wouldn't want to deal with it on this call. Yes, we would love for you to use existing accounts. It doesn't have to be a salary account. It can be an existing account, maybe an existing savings account and all of that. But for this particular question, I would like to have a conversation with you one-on-one, Ewoma, so that I'll be able to break this down. So that I'll be able to break this down for you. I hope that's okay. Any other questions? All right, thank you, Ewoma. All right, Jalil. So I think you can just drop your comments in the chats. Okay, so Bennett is saying, please, how much do we need to start and complete this process? At Nexi, we usually don't like to give you a specific figure because the exchange rate is not stable, but I would say that the approximate amount for tuition fee, deposit, IHS, visa fee, your flight tickets and everything, I would advise you to budget from 35 million upward. It can change and it's not stable, but just have that so that you know that you have more than enough, as opposed to struggling to, meet up with the process and the financial commitment. I hope I was able to answer that question, Bennett. Ewoma is also asking, please, for someone with a 2-2, is it possible to get a 2 years work permit after school? And how easy to get an admission with 2-2? So a 2-2 is a second class lower degree, and yes, you can get an admission. I think my colleague Mary also even spoke about schools that even take as low as third class and HND students directly into a master's degree. So obviously, yes, you can get direct masters with a 2-2. However, the work permit or the graduate visa has been reduced from 2 years to 18 months. So please take note of that. It's no longer 2 years. It has now been reduced to 18 months. Then I can see here that Bridget is asking, I would love to apply to schools via your agency. Is there a charge for this and what does it cost? So I'm sure, Bridget, you didn't join early because I said this entire process for the UK is done absolutely for free by my agency. Free, free, free. You're not paying us a dime. All you have to do is make your tuition deposits, be willing to put in the work to ensure that you get your cars and your visa. So the process is entirely free. And please fill the form. Please, admin, can you drop that link again? Fill the form. There's a link for those who want to be contacted. Fill the form, and a counselor will reach out to you shortly. So I hope I've been able to answer your question, Bridget. I also have one from Grace here. I missed on the funds to be used for proof of funds. Did you say Globus is no longer acceptable? Kindly clarify. So certain schools have put out communication to state that they are not accepting certain banks. Globus, Heritage, Globus Heritage and Paralex, as well as microfinance.
Okay, I think Anita is having some internet challenges. Hi, Georgina. Can you kindly retake the banks that are currently on the blacklist again?
All right, I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, please.
All right, so I think I was dealing on remind me that question because I can't find it anymore in the chat box. Okay, so I was talking about banks. So please, just like my colleagues Mary and Happiness stated, this time is not the time for you to do these applications yourself. At least get the guidance of an agency. I mean, it's free. What do you have to lose? So I hope I'm able to answer your question on that, Grace. Any other question? I've overshot my time for 5 minutes. Any other questions before we bring this to a close? Okay, I can see your sister got an offer from East Anglia and has started running her proof of fund with Globus. Would you suggest I withdraw and start all over? I'm not sure if East Anglia is rejecting, but we know that since a couple of schools or some schools under an umbrella came together to stop accepting these banks, we started seeing most schools add on. So we've seen schools like Edinburgh Napier add on and say that they're not accepting these banks as well. So my safest bet, even though I know that it can be disheartening, is to use proper banks that would not give you issues in the end. Because of course, if schools have started rejecting these banks, we know that UKVI would also start rejecting these banks shortly. So if you can, please let your sister start all over again with a bank that is accepted or that won't give issues when you get to the visa stage. But I understand if this can be quite expensive, but that's just the safest method. I'll quickly take the next question. Please give us some key takeaways before you leave. Summary for those just joining. Okay, so the beginning of this or the entire process, we've just talked about how times are changing for the UK market. UKVI is bringing rules and regulations that are guiding the schools. The schools are getting stricter because they don't want to lose their license. That is why you see influx of schools increasing their tuition fees, their tuition deposits, entry requirements are getting tighter, visa processing is getting tighter and stricter. So we advise that everyone uses an agent, and not just any agent, an agent that actually cares about you and wants you to get your visa, because some agents are just after the money, but that's not what we are doing here at Nexi. So I would say that you would also get the recording of this session. We can just share that with you via email. The team will share that with you via email, and then all of those will be packed together. I think that's the summary of everything. It's no longer business as usual. So make sure that you have the advice of an agency or a trusted agency, and make sure that you're putting the work as a student. It's no longer, don't have the jackpot mentality anymore. See yourself as a genuine student who is going to study and at least put in the work to ensure that you get your cards, you get your visa, do everything that your counselors is asking you to do. I'm seeing Tife said she just joined and she wants to know the opportunities for third class students. Unfortunately, we would not be able to take that question because it's a whole slide where we spoke about it. But please feel there's a link in the chat box so that the counselor can reach out to you. Admin, please. Admin, please drop this link in the box again, in the chat box again, and let them, be able to fill the form. So Tife, please try to fill the form so that the counselors can reach out to you. And if you're not able to fill the form before we end, please take a screenshot of our contact information. My name is Anita, obviously, so you can see my number on there. You can always reach out to me for any questions and all of that. So if your sister wants to switch to social work, it means that she's trying to put in an application now. I wouldn't advise it for the September intake, except she already has a proof of fund ready and every other document ready. But we can give you more advice that is tailored to your sister's situation. So please reach out to us, reach out to me, reach out to Agatha, Mary, Happiness, Joshua, depending on your location, and we'll be very well available to take your questions. That being said, I have to bring this to a close right now. I'm so grateful that everyone was able to join. We're happy to hear from you, happy to take your inquiries and your queries and all of that, and we're happy to assist you. Like I said, the entire process is done for free. You don't have to pay us a dime. There are no hidden charges except your visa fees, IHS fees, and your tuition deposits. So thank you so much, and God bless you. See you soon in our DMs, and have a wonderful evening. Bye.